So the interior, these seats are just so much better. In general, the space in here is much better than the last generation, but the real big difference is under the bonnet. Okay, oh, look. Again, this is the quality you pay for in Lexus. A few extra bits and pieces, nice soft touch seals here. Keep the noise down, nice thick bonnet, sound insulation. But this is the 2.4 turbo. Less power than the 3.5 V6 that I had before, which I loved. Essentially trying to get better economy. It's marginally, actually just a bit better. It's probably about 15%, maybe 20% better than the V6. It's also got more torque, so better drivability. Just doesn't sound quite as cool. But performance-wise, as with the rest of the package, is a generational leap, so it's definitely welcome. Okay, so you don't, if you're buying the RX, I doubt you're buying it for the 0 to 100 time. But it's not slower, it's faster. But more importantly, the drivability is better. Now, I don't know if you saw my excellent review of the Kluger, which had a similar 3.5 V6. Turned out better to be a better drive than the hybrid. Now, cyclists. So the 2.4 turbo is a really nice engine. Obviously, like I'm saying, this thing isn't a track weapon or anything like that. It's a nice car to drive. So the 2.4, you don't like step off the line and just stamp the throttle. And it doesn't really like doing that. And I'm pretty sure people who drive RXs aren't really doing that anyway. It's not slow off the line by any means. But it does need to get to about 1500 RPM before it's got the power to be able to generate the turbo to run and get the torque to get you running. That's essentially called turbo lag, but this doesn't really have turbo lag that lasts longer than about, well, 1500 RPM, so about 1 second. So not noticeable. But then when you're cruising up hills like this, right, I'm doing 1500 RPM, I've already hit peak torque, so you can just amble along quite comfortably and quietly and be very relaxed. That's probably what the R in RX stands for. There are options here, so you can go through your center control and put it in sport mode. I did it a few times. It does make the handling a little bit better, but this is, you know, set up for a bit more comfort. It is a bit more better disciplined than the previous generation, so it does have a lot better feel out to each of the corners, and that's not just due to the extra track, but again due to the actual tuning of the suspension. These are reactive dampers on each corner when you get the FSport, and I think it's probably worth the money. Now, would you get the FSport if you're going to be driving around in town all the time? I'd probably, much like I recommended with the previous generation, I would recommend that you look at the hybrid version instead. CVTs are more efficient and a bit more cruisy around town. Not that this is too energetic or nervous or anything, but you'll get much better efficiency if you go for the hybrid option, if you're going to be spending most of your time around town. And if you want to take this out on the highway and go cruising, I do think this is a pretty good car for that role. Although it doesn't have a full-size spare, which really annoys me, but it's par for the course. All right. I hate that saying, and I hate that everybody has space saver spares, but that's what you got. At least it's a cool looking mag one. Yeah, about as good as you can get for a space saver spare. But anyway, $100,000 plus on-road costs for the FSport. Beautiful seats, fantastic Mark Levinson stereo, much bigger and smarter control system in the center here, the display, full electronic instrumentation, head-up display, which is nice and big and bright. Kind of weird touch controls on here, but they're actually quite decent when you get used to them. I think I'm probably the only person in the world that would say this, but I used to like the Lexus touchpad control. because you could move it around with your finger and it would stay where you left it on the screen. So you could do something, drive, get to the next set of traffic lights, do something, like if you're putting in an address or something like that. But now you can just use voice recognition if you press the right button. Lexus Indooroopilly.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you.
Navigate to Lexus in Indooroopilly.
I found more than one matching POI. Which one would you like to go to?
Well, this one.
Starting navigation to Lexus of Brisbane.
Thank you. With Lexus is their stuff works pretty much all the time, but I've found this boot actuator to work most of the time, not all the time. Massive space in the back here. Obviously this is the big difference over the NX, but let's give this boot a kick again. And of course it works this time. But sometimes, let's try again. I was waiting to lock, hang on, let's try that again. I hate you. I'm confused. Stop. Of course.